Would I read 90 books in a year? I've been taking a lot of time to sort of refresh my space, my mental, kind of get back on track. The whole sort of new year, new me situation that everyone has in the beginning of the year. I've of course been reading a ton this month. I've set my reading goal to 100 books. It is January 3rd, 2023. Happy 1323. In 2021, I read 18 out of 25 books. And in 2022, I read 31 out of 20 books. In 4 months, I read 30 books, which is insane to me. Let's divide 35, 4, 7.5. I'm reading around 7 to 8 books a month. Makes sense. So 7.5 times 12 is 90. Could I read 90 books in a year? I think we're gonna say to read 100 books this year. We're gonna set the goal to read 100 books in 2023. I've set my goal on Goodreads this year to read 100 books, which is very ambitious. It is currently the 13th of January, Friday the 13th, which is spooky dooky. I'm currently 5 books into the year. First, I have read the Vincent Boys collection, which is comprised of the Vincent Boys and the Vincent Brothers. This is by Abby Glines, who you may know as the author of, I think, like Field Party. I read The Evolution of Mara Dyer, which is the second book in the Mara Dyer trilogy. These are all rereads from me because I just want to see if the books that captivated me whenever I was younger still kind of hit the same. I read Layla by Colleen Hoover, which is a very interesting read. If you want to keep up with me as I read, I literally update my Goodreads like 7 times an hour. I'm just kidding. Like 7 times a day though, for sure. If you want to follow me, I'll have that link down below. My name is PaperbackGirly on all social media platforms. The other book was a finish from December, and that is Talk Santa to Me. I have since packaged that up in a way with all of my Christmas books and put that in the garage. I have definitely been doing well in terms of pace towards my reading goal. As for my January TBR, I am currently in the middle of Beautiful Disaster, Oona Out of Order, also reading 1984 by George Orwell. Once I finish those, I will only have 3 more books on my January TBR. I think I want to add this to my January TBR. It just seems like a very interesting and intriguing story. The cover is just absolutely gorgeous. This is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harlow. Those are my reading updates. Maybe I can read to chapter 10 tonight in this book. I have dinner cooking on the stove. I have been low-key chipping away at Oona Out of Order. This book is actually really good. I think that the writing style is surprisingly refreshing. I appreciate the descriptiveness as well as the banter in the book, and I'm really enjoying my reading experience. I just love little things like that. Tears poured down her powdered cheeks like expert skiers down a fresh snowbank. Wow, that was captivating. Really interesting. There's a lot of partying and drugs and like tense scenes and moments where it's like, what is this character getting herself into? I like it. I like it a lot. It's keeping me on my toes. I have one more chapter left until I finish part 3, and that was my goal for tonight. It's getting to that time where I should probably be going to bed, especially because I have work tomorrow. Whenever reading is addicting, you find excuses to do the things that you want to do. Hello and good day. I wanted to update you on my current reading. Yesterday I finished Beautiful Disaster and I was still reading Oona Out of Order. I have since finished Oona Out of Order. I really liked this book and I really enjoyed my reading experience, but the one thing that it didn't give me that frustrated me a little bit, it never really explains like the why or the how or this like just anything about why Oona has to go through what she's going through. And maybe that was the whole point of it, is to leave you a little bit perplexed and leave you wondering why. I kind of almost wonder like how long it's been going on. And then there's also like a twist at the end. Wasn't really expecting a little bit, but like I was able to digest, which is how the book ended. I just needed like maybe one more chapter or one more part that explained that particular year maybe, because like up to that point we had continued to get answers for the years past, where I feel like I was still kind of like wondering, oh, like, well, why? Well, how did that happen? Or I don't know. I rated this a 4 out of 5 stars on my Goodreads, and I'm gonna stay true to that. I do think it was a four-star read for me. Finished that book. I have updated my book journal. This little book journal. Didn't really take the time to look at it at Barnes & Noble, and I probably should have, because it was like maybe $20. It really only gives you this page and then like a bunch of places for notes, which would make sense. It's a book club journal, so like maybe if you write down notes for your book club, maybe I'll utilize those pages more in the future. My first thoughts were that I wanted to read this book this month because I knew it took place around New Year's. I also think time travel and time loop stories are my favorite sci-fi trope, and I'm excited / interested to see the plot transpire. And my final impressions were I enjoyed my reading experience. However, I wish we got some answers on the how and the why of all of this was occurring. I rated the character 3.5 out of 4 stars. Oona was a little bit problematic. Plot 5 out of 5 stars because I really did enjoy the idea of it, and at first it really was like, it was good. It was really good. The writing I gave a 4 out of 5 stars, and then overall I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I've been listening and reading to 1984 by George Orwell, and I've been getting pretty decently far into it. That's to say that I am enjoying 1984 by George Orwell. I wanted to pick up a book on Kindle, so I decided that I wanted to read Indigo Ridge on Kindle Unlimited. However, I really wanted to pick this up, and I bought this purely because I wanted to read this month, and I think it would only be right. The 10,000 Doors of January. This is by Alex E. Harrow. Definitely has a fantasy or like a speculative fiction element to it, and I like that it's basically, you're almost reading like a letter. It's 1901, which is very interesting. It talks about real world things. Like it said JP Morgan just became the most wealthy person in the world. He runs out into the forest and finds a door and walks through the door. You're in between 2 different places at once. I'm not doing a great job explaining it because I've only read the first chapter. Able to finish the second chapter yet, but I liked it. We're getting this little like timeline of events that's kind of creating this character, and I'm kind of growing with her. She tells us a couple stories of whenever she was 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, and she gets this dog, this puppy, and she writes in this book, she basically writes that she has a dog in some particular way. And the next morning she wakes up and the friend that gave her the dog shows up and brings her the dog. I just thought that was a little bit cute, that like there could be this element of like she can write something down and it were to come true. I don't know. Good morning. It is 9:30 9:32. I think yesterday I was saying it was the 18th and it wasn't. It was the 17th. I tried to wake up today and I got up, I washed my face, I made my tea, I did everything that I wanted to do, and I sat down to read and I was so tired. It'll be miserable if I try to make myself read through this. My eyes felt so heavy. I had decided to just lay back down in bed with hopes that I would wake up. I didn't wake back up. I tried to wake up at 7:30. I tried to wake up at 8. I tried to wake up at 9. Like, I just kept snoozing and sleeping. I've been reading for a little bit and this book is a little bit interesting. So this girl named January finds a door, tries to tell her caretaker. She tells him and he detests it, like goes to like burn the door down, whatever. She forgets about it after some time, and like we get some scenes of like her growing up, and it kind of gives the reader a bit of like an idea. And she lives with Mr. Locke. He watches over January while the dad goes off and looks for artifacts, and then he brings them back. She also had just found a book called The 10,000 Doors. What's interesting about this book is that we're literally reading the book as she reads it. So like this is what a normal chapter looks like. Like we're almost reading two stories in a way. Also, this one is starting to go into detail about a woman named Adelaide Lee. Tell us like her origin story, and I assume, I haven't gotten there yet, but I assume that we're gonna find some parallels between Adelaide and January, and so maybe January will feel connected to Adelaide and we'll start to go off looking for doors. I've already kind of like played around with the app a little bit, and I let them know that I was reading The 10,000 Doors of January. You can add notes, you can take pictures, track the time that you're reading, which is really cool. There's also this really cool option, the book calendar. I just thought it was really cool that like you're able to see, for example, on the 3rd and the 4th, I started the Vincent Boys on the 3rd and I finished it on the 4th. That's really neat. I do really want to use and utilize this little timer feature that I figured out yesterday. I also really like how at the bottom you can keep track of all the books that you gave up reading. I like that it gives you that option. I started this on the 24th of December and I finished it the 9th, and I think I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, 3.5 actually. And isn't that cute how you can, oh, I love this. It's so adorable. To read later, maybe I could put my remaining 3 TBR books on here. Okay, so I only have 3 more books left on my TBR. Scan that. Page. And save that. All of my January TBR books are now right there, which is neat. That's very, very neat. So yeah, there's that. I just have one more thing to show you guys. I tabbed Beautiful Disaster both with my clear tabs, but also tried using these little highlight strips. And I got these off of the shop, Rose Colored Days, and she just released a bunch of small ones in a bunch of different color palettes. So I bought all 10 color palettes. They're really long, and so if I wanted it to cover just like a certain part, I would need to cut it. At first it was a little bit like tedious, but after a while I sort of got into the habit of doing it. But that's also why I wanted to get the shorter ones so that I didn't have to cut them as much. Updated the camera in a few days. I'm still reading 1984. I was gonna start Indigo Ridge. I just started reading Indigo Ridge and I'm on page 100, well 101. I'm loving it. It's giving 5 stars. It's giving everything. Giving mystery, thriller, suspense, angst, banter. Okay, this relationship between Griffin and Winnie Winslow. I love that name. I love the name Winslow. And I finished Indigo Ridge. It was such a good story. I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. I really liked it a lot. I was not expecting the whole like mystery plot. The romance and the angst between the two characters was great. I appreciated that like author didn't spend a lot of time doing like the rudimentary like, oh, he proposed, and they kind of just like alluded to it as the characters continued living on their lives, and I really liked it. I really liked the writing style, so I'm very excited to read Juniper Hill. Also very excited to purchase the paperback versions of these books. Still in the middle of / almost done with 1984. I think I just have a couple more chapters of this much left of the book, and then the rest is just the appendix. I might finish that tonight, why not? I'm still reading The 10,000 Doors of January. That one I've been noticing has just taken a little bit more brain power to read. The chapters are quite long and they're just very heavily detailed. The way the author writes is very eloquent. It's a lot to sort of switch to whenever I've been reading more easygoing romance books. But going into the last week of the year, we'll have Finley Donovan is Killing It and Rock, Paper, Scissors on my TBR. The third book that's still on my TBR is Addicted for Now. I thought that especially because it's a bigger book that it would be good to start this in January, and that way I could sort of finish it in February. Now it is January 28th and it has been almost a full month of amazing reads, not so amazing reads, weird, wacky reads. I haven't had a chance to update the reading vlog in a few days because I've been wrapped up with work and other different things, but now I have finally set aside some time. Throughout this entire month I've had some amazing reads, but the last time I spoke with you guys I talked about how I rated Indigo Ridge 5 out of 5 stars. Loved that book so very much, and I was also still reading 1984 and 10,000 Doors of January. I am almost done with the 10,000 Doors of January. I have about 2 chapters left, and the book has taken a incredibly different turn than I thought it was going in the first place. But it is a fantasy and a take on speculative fiction, so it gave me the same vibe that I got from whenever I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I've once rated 5 out of 5 stars. Don't know what I'm going to rate this book yet, and I don't think I will know until I do my February or my January wrap up. I've enjoyed the course of events thus far. I've also since finished 1984. 1984 I've rated 4.5 out of 5 stars. The reason why I didn't give it a 5-star, and it's hard to rate classics sometimes as well, but the reason why I didn't rate it a 5-star is because there's a really heavy political discourse throughout the entire book, and it's just not something that like is easily digestible. But it was a very interesting story and a lot better of a story than I thought it was going to be. It has a lot of different crazy twists and things that happen that I really just wasn't expecting. Since then, I have also found another amazing 5-star read. I have since dedicated a whole reading vlog to this particular book. I was not expecting to read this book this month. I was trying to save it for next month, but I read and absolutely fell in love with A Love Letter to Whiskey. This is on Kindle Unlimited, and I read the 5th anniversary edition. So I also read Love Whiskey, which is like the boy's POV of the story, with also some bonus content, and I am so thoroughly enthralled by this story. It blew my mind away. I binged it in like one night. It may not be for everyone. There's definitely trigger warnings. It's definitely like a toxic relationship between the two protagonists, but I ate it up in one sitting, and I have since plan to dedicate an entire reading vlog just to that book. Just a couple more days left in the month, and I'm starting to think about my reading plans for February, and I'm also wrapping up my thoughts surrounding all the books that I read this month. But one last final reading update is that I have since started Juniper Hill. I don't think I'm liking it as much as I have loved and did love Indigo Ridge, but I appreciate the continuation of the story. I appreciate Knox and Memphis' story for what it is, and I think that right now it's giving like 4-star vibes. We'll see how everything transpires. I am going to wrap this up for now, and I will see you guys in a few days with my January wrap up. Thanks for watching.